Welcome to the Second to None podcast, where real conversations happen, no voice is silenced, and we lean into complexity. Before we begin, do me a favor. Hit subscribe. Whether you're listening on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, your subscription helps us bring more stories, more balance, more truth. Today's episode is heavy, but necessary. We're covering the Michigan church shooting that shocked the nation, committed by a military veteran. We'll look at the facts we know so far, the questions unanswered, and then dig into what this says about veteran mental health, trauma, society's duty, and how we must respond. On Sunday, September 28th, 2025, in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, tragedy struck at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints chapel during Sunday services. A man drove his vehicle into the building, opened fire, and set parts of the structure ablaze. Law enforcement arrived within minutes. The shooter was fatally shot during a confrontation. Multiple people died, others were wounded. Authorities have identified the shooter as Thomas Jacob Sanford, approximately 40 years old, and a veteran of the U.S. Marines who served in Iraq. He was from Burton, Michigan, a former Marine, a graduate of Goodrich High School. His truck was adorned with American flags. He is believed to have carried weapons and set parts of the church on fire after the shooting. The full motive is not yet clear. Investigators are treating the crime as a mass shooting, vehicle ramming, and arson, with support from federal agencies. The state is investigating possible mental health red flags, prior service-related trauma, and other factors. As of now, the numbers reported vary slightly. Some sources say 4 killed and 8 wounded. Others report 2 killed and 8 injured. The building sustained serious damage from fire. Hundreds of congregants were inside at the time. This church shooting enters a terrible list of attacks on houses of worship, a betrayal of sanctuary, a violation of faith spaces. While investigation is ongoing, public records show bits of Sanford's life. He graduated high school in 2003, then served in the Marines, deploying to Iraq. After his service, he worked in Michigan, maintaining ties to firearms, hunting, and local life. Reports suggest he was a father. Neighbors described him as someone who plowed driveways, a quote, normal neighbor, but also someone who kept to himself. There's no confirmed public record yet of prior violent acts, but investigators are checking for mental health history, PTSD, service records, and possible indicators of escalating distress. We don't yet have a full backstory of how he transitioned from service to this act. That's a gap investigators must fill, and one we must consider carefully. One key lens for the story is mental health, particularly for veterans. Many who return from service, especially combat missions, carry unseen wounds. Post-traumatic stress disorder is common in veterans exposed to combat, loss, or witnessing trauma. Traumatic brain injury is another factor. Blast injuries or head trauma can lead to long-term cognitive, emotional, and behavioral changes. Depression, anxiety, and substance abuse are also frequent struggles for veterans navigating reintegration. Some deal with what is called moral injury, when they feel they have violated their own moral code or witnessed injustice. And far too often, support systems are insufficient. Stigma, bureaucracy, and underdiagnosis leave veterans without the treatment they need. We don't yet know whether Sanford was diagnosed or treated for any of these. But when a person with military experience commits violence, we must ask, was a mental health crisis untreated? Did he have access to care? Were warning signs ignored? Mental health is not an excuse, but often a factor in a broader chain of causation. It is part of the ecosystem of conditions that must be understood. Attacks on houses of worship deliver more than physical death. They fracture trust, deepen trauma, and shake religious and communal identity. In Grand Blanc, the LDS congregation now faces grief, fear, and a broken space meant for peace. Pastors, community leaders, and congregants must ask, how do we respond without fueling revenge? What mental health and safety frameworks must be redoubled? How do we maintain faith in a world where sanctuaries can be attacked? In the wider culture, this incident will be politicized. Gun policy, veteran support, mental health funding, religious safety, extremist narratives, all will be pulled into the debate. Some will argue gun control, others will argue mental health care. Still others will emphasize community resilience. Balanced journalism must resist oversimplification. So what can society, government, and communities do to reduce the risk of tragedies like this? Veteran support and mental health care must expand. Access to services under the VA must improve. Stigma must be reduced, and regular mental health checkups should be required. Screening for PTSD, TBI, and depression must be strengthened, and transition programs from active duty to civilian life must offer not just trade training, but therapy and social support. Gun safety and oversight must be part of the conversation. Stronger background checks, including mental health red flags, are essential. Communities must examine how veterans or ex-servicemen acquire weapons and enforce safe storage rules when individuals show signs of distress. Red flag laws can allow temporary intervention when someone poses a danger to themselves or others. Faith institutions must also balance openness with security. Clergy, staff, and congregants can be trained in threat awareness. Partnerships with law enforcement, mental health providers, and crisis response teams can create stronger safety nets without making sanctuaries into fortresses. Communities have responsibilities, too. People must be willing to act when they notice signs of breakdown in someone's behavior. Mental health must be destigmatized, especially in veteran and male populations where seeking help is often treated as weakness. Silence allows cracks to widen. Vigilance and compassion must be the norm. As we reflect, there are difficult questions to weigh. Does labeling someone as mentally ill risk excusing responsibility? Or is it necessary context? How do we honor veterans for their service while holding them accountable for their actions? When tragedy strikes sacred spaces, how do we balance security with faith? What is the threshold for intervention? When should communities step in? And how do we ensure media coverage avoids sensationalism and remains responsible? Take a moment to reflect. Are there veterans you know who seem isolated? Have you reached out? In your local community or church, do you see mental health support happening proactively or only reactively after tragedy? If you had the power to change one policy, would it be better funding for veteran care, stricter gun safety measures, or stronger protection for religious institutions? If you're listening and you want more stories like this, raw, honest, thought-provoking, do this. Subscribe to the Second to None podcast. Leave us a comment. What part of the story struck you most? Do you think this was preventable? Which policy angle matters most to you? Mental health, veteran care, gun safety, or community security? And finally, share this episode with someone who values grappling with hard truths, not just sound bites. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep questioning, keep compassionate, keep the conversation alive.